welcome to the show. Welcome back to Behind the Internet. I'm Aaron. I'm one of the hosts today with Whisper Internet, and I am our outside salesperson for Whisper Internet.
And again, I am Jesse. I'm out of Washington, Missouri. I do field tech and towers for Whisper for a very long time. So,
yeah, and if you're joining us, you know what? Reach out, tell us where you're from, and let us know what parts of the area that we're reaching out to. We're really kind of curious to see where we're going at. We could be going international, don't even know it yet. So we're kind of excited to hear about that.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And our topic today, I'm extremely excited about because I've been in the market for a while. I'm still waiting for a Whisper to send me my Apple Watch, but we're going to be talking about Apple Watches today and all the tips and tricks and all the different ways that you can utilize them. I know my brother has one. He's using it all the time. I see him all over the place now. And so we're going to hone in on Apple Watches today and extremely excited about it.
Yes. So let me introduce to you Jessica Lotz. If you have a problem saying her name, she says it lots of fun. So
that's cool. Right.
So we have a special guest. She is as a self-subscribed people collector. We'll have to ask her more questions about that. Jessica was meeting others and bringing different groups to people together in her life. While she plays many roles, her favorite role is mom, because she and her husband Craig took to the road less traveled and became parents. She spends her days compiling and completing her to-do list, listening to her 9-year-old son recount every single minute of Fortnite adventures. I'm sure that could be very interesting. And sitting in the bubble room at the O'Fallon Library and listening to podcasts, studying city finances and operations while drinking her sweet Katie B's latte. So that sounds exciting already. I got to try this.
That's me.
Awesome. No, that's an awesome introduction, and so glad to see you today. Again, you are watching Behind the Internet with Aaron and Jesse. Definitely welcome to the show.
Yes. So, Jessica, without further ado, tell us about Apple Watch and what made you get an Apple Watch.
So I recall that I got an Apple Watch mostly initially for the fitness tracking, which in talking with other people, it seems like that's sort of what hooks them is they want a way throughout the day to track their health and fitness. But I love learning and especially about technology. So once I got my watch, I really dove into the rabbit hole of YouTube to study like what it could do, and its capabilities are seemingly endless. And so ever since then, I will literally be in line at the grocery store and somebody will have an Apple Watch and I'll be like, oh my gosh, tell me your favorite feature. And it turns out, in my experience, most people they're just not aware of all that it can do. And so like a 2-minute grocery checkout turns into a 10-minute conversation with a stranger because I want people to understand. So I'm thankful that you have me here today because I feel like it's such an investment that I hope that people have the passion to learn more about what it can do and then figure out how they can incorporate maybe some of these things into their lives and sort of get the most efficient use out of this device that they wear.
No, absolutely. And I know this is kind of a general question, but what should the everyday Apple owner know?
Oh man, let's see. How much time do we have? Just kidding.
Right. 30 minutes.
I would say, okay, probably the first thing is that as an avid Apple Watch user, I barely touch my watch. So it's a very small screen. The real estate is critical. And I feel like Apple's done a good job of sort of incorporating everything intuitively into it. But the reality is you really don't have to touch the screen or touch the button. So I tell people like my number one tip is talk to your watch. So I probably, gosh, if I had to guess, I probably talk to my watch 40 to 50 times a day. And some of them are Siri reminders, which I know we'll get into. But sometimes people say, well, like, especially for the health and fitness, well, like, how many steps have I taken? Well, if you touch your watch or push the buttons to get down into how many steps you've taken, I mean, it's like 4 or 5 touches. Whereas you could just ask your watch, hey, Siri, how many steps have I taken today? and she'll display it on the screen. So I would say that's probably a feature most people don't understand, is that what I just tell people, whatever you want to know or do, just ask the watch first and see how she responds. And then if she's not getting you what you want, then maybe start tapping and sort of pecking around. But I would say the other thing is nearly everything on the watch is customizable. So when you get into the screen that has all the little bubbles on it, that's very small, but you can set it so those are much larger. You can change that screen so it's more of a list and not the bubbles. The watch faces have really endless capabilities in terms of what you want it to display. So I use what I call the productivity. So it shows me my calendar, how much battery life I have left, my fitness. I cram a lot of data into that one screen. But some of the screens are really minimal. So if you just want to use it for a watch on the weekends, you can swipe the screen and have it just be the time. So I just let people know that my biggest piece of advice is like, just get on YouTube and just Google or just search for tips and tricks, because regardless of why you got the watch, I am confident there are 2 to 3 other apps and things you can do that'll make the watch definitely more useful in your life.
That's pretty awesome. I just learned like 5 tips right there, and I'm an Apple
My
Watch.
job here is done. It was good talking to you guys.
I know, right? Exactly. I'm like, whoa, I'm just blown out. I'm like, never thought about that. So, and for the viewers that don't know, Siri is a virtual assistant. And I know me personally, I use Siri a lot when I'm, instead of texting and driving, I'll talk into my phone a lot. And so I use Siri quite often. And, it's on all iOS devices. And the assistant uses voice queries and natural language to interface different answers to questions, make recommendations for you. So Jessica, how do you, and you kind of mentioned some of it already, but how do you utilize Siri for reminders?
So reminders is probably 95% of how I use my watch. And I want to put a caveat out there, because what we're going to talk about today is not unique to the watch. So if you don't have a watch or you're considering getting a watch, you can also do these things on your iPhone. So it's not unique to the watch. I just think the benefit of it, especially for, I would say women, because a lot of our clothing don't have pockets, I don't always have my cell phone on me. And so if I need to add something to my reminder list or my grocery list, if I'm out in the garage getting, let's say, the last gallon of milk, if I don't have my phone on me, it's not easy to add that to my list. But now that I have my watch on me, literally no matter where I am, I can say, hey, Siri, add milk to my grocery list. So I would say that the reminders in terms of adding things to my Walgreens list, Sam's Club list, grocery list are mostly what I use it for. But I really have tried to find ways to use the watch to make my life more efficient. So I'm notorious at forgetting little things, right? So my husband might call me and say, hey, honey, I left my lunch at home today. Will you bring me my lunch when you leave the house? Well, pre-Apple Watch, I would leave my house without the lunch, or I would take the lunch, but then I would drive right by his office and forget to actually take it to him. So Apple Watch, Jessica, now my approach is I will say, hey, Siri, when I get in my car, remind me to grab Craig's lunch. And then, hey, Siri, when I go to Craig's work, remind me to drop off the lunch. So those location-based reminders work that when you're within 250 feet of whatever that location was, your watch will buzz and remind you whatever you asked it to remind you. So I use that for, like if I need a grocery or if I need to buy a birthday card at Walgreens, I'll say, hey, when I go to Walgreens, remind me to buy a birthday card. So the reminders feature is probably most often what I use that for. And you can say when I get in my car, when I get out of my car, when I get to a location, you can say no matter where you are, you can say when I leave here, remind me to, let's say, go to the bank. And wherever here is, it will sort of take note, snapshot of that location. And once you get 250 feet outside of that, then it will remind you whatever you asked it to remind you.
That's good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Just the grocery list alone from that is got me sold, and the reminders, because that would probably save me at least two hours a day of productivity, I'm sure. Right. Just to switch gears a little bit, do you use the emergency SOS part of it? Do you know what do you know about that?
Thankfully, I haven't had to use it, but again.
Right.
this SOS feature, having it on your watch as opposed to not having a watch and just using your phone. So we hate to think about it, but if you're in a car accident, for example, let's say your car gets tossed around a little bit, your phone could end up in the back of the car, outside of the car. So calling 911 might not be as feasible. But once you have an Apple Watch, theoretically that watch stays on you. And so all you have to do is push and hold the sidebar button. And once you do that for 3 seconds, a screen comes up, and one of the options is you can slide to call emergency services, and that will automatically call emergency services. You can talk to the dispatcher through the watch. But then what it also does is it sends your GPS location to the 911 dispatcher so they know where you are. Which, think about it, I mean, if you're out on the interstate, especially if you're in a different state, you don't even know what mile mark you're at, literally. But then the other neat thing is once that 911 call ends, the Apple automatically sends a automated text message to people who are listed in your phone as your emergency contact. And so they'll get an automated text that says, Jessica activated 911, they're on their way, and then it sends them your location too.
That's awesome. And that's a good question, because I've noticed too, like, my first Apple Watch, that button was a little bit more sensitive than what it is now. And actually, my 3rd day working for Whisper, I started here as a tower climber, and I had gloves on, and I hit the emergency button just as I was getting ready to go up on my first tower. And so that was an interesting conversation. And got me, like, yeah, I climbed a tower and called 911.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
always remember that.
Right. And I was going to wait for the story afterwards, but I got to throw it in there now since we're talking about mile markers.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, a long time ago, before phones or watches, driving down the highway, I wasn't driving, slammed into a mile marker and stopped, called 911, and they asked what mile marker you're at. We looked at it, was sticking out of our windshield. Yeah, mile marker 213. So definitely, we don't want to do it like that. We definitely want to have it on our.
That's horrible, but funny at the same time that you actually had this nice reminder where you were at.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. So, what is? Do you have any favorite apps you use actually on your watch?
I do. So, Apple Pay is probably my favorite, especially now in these COVID times where some places are going to the cashless system. People and you can do this on your phone too. It doesn't have to be on the watch, but the watch is easier for me because I've got an elementary age son. So going into the store and not having to take anything, no wallet, purse, nothing. As long as I have my watch, you can double tap the sidebar and you can put it up to the system and it takes your payment very seamlessly. There was some confusion early on. People thought that Apple Pay maybe wasn't as secure, but the reality is if you go to 5 different retailers and use your actual credit card, each of those retailers has your credit card, and each of the third-party processing companies also has your credit card. So that's like 10 different points of compromise with that. When you use Apple Pay, nobody except Apple actually gets your credit card number. They just get a transaction ID that helps process the payment. So it's possible Apple can and will be hacked someday, but that's only one point of compromise versus the 10. So I would say Apple Pay is definitely one of my favorite apps. For people who travel, I know people aren't doing a lot of traveling right now, but you can load your boarding passes into your Apple Wallet. And so just think about when you're getting ready to board a plane, especially if you're with family or kids, I mean, your hands are taken. You know, so to hold the paper boarding pass or to even have your phone up is not as convenient, but it can load once you load it into your Apple Watch, your boarding pass displays on your wrist. So you literally just tap it to the machine and walk right through.
Anything to make the airport experience easier, I'm totally on board with it. So board,
absolutely. I've recently also just figured out how to, I'm an Apple fan, so I have my AirPods in. I paired my AirPods to my Apple Watch. I downloaded my music list onto my watch, and now I can go outside running without having to actually take my phone. And you can do that even if you have the Apple Watch version that doesn't have cellular. Like you can just you can still go running. So that's been convenient.
Yes.
No, and I love getting questions that I have no idea what it is, and I'm gonna just let you have it right now. I'm just gonna say one thing. Remember to breathe. Go with it.
Okay, so the Apple Watch has a built-in capability to remind you to breathe. And so what it does is all throughout the day, which seems silly, I get that. And actually, the advice I tell people when they first get a watch, what I did was I turned off all my notifications when I first got it, because I got this watch as a way to track fitness, but also be more efficient. And I was not efficient with 35 dings going on, different apps notifying me, text messages. So I turned off everything except text messaging, and that included the reminders to breathe. So what the watch does is it's taking your heart rate all throughout the day. And if you are not involved in an exercise, but your heart rate goes up, your watch will remind you. You'll get a soft ping is what they call it, or vibration. And it will remind you to breathe, because in the watch's estimation, your heart rate is elevated for no reason, which usually indicates you're in a moment of stress. So sometimes when I'm watching, I'm a big NFL fan. So if I'm watching the Broncos lose, maybe to the Raiders, my watch will frequently go off and tell me
Just lost all
that I need.
She just brought up
Yeah,
sports.
then
I
I
love
need
it.
to take a breath. Yeah. Oh, that happens
That's all
frequently. That and right before I go public speak, I'm not a huge public speaker. I don't enjoy it, and so my watch is constantly going out during public speaking. So, but it is, you can turn that off, but if you leave it on, it is just a nice reminder, and it'll walk you through a 60-second breathing exercise to help bring that heart rate down.
That is kind of neat. Yeah, I don't use that as often as I should, I think, because it does go off. Well, I'm not going to say often, but it does go off quite a bit. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to that later.
and
it's usually at more inconvenient times. Like I'm in the middle of usually something really heated. Like I'm not going to stop and freaking breathe, but that's when you should.
No, and while you're explaining that, I was thinking of just work situations and even at home. I think if my wife and I had one of these things and all of a sudden it started pinging on both of our, during a conversation, we just kind of stop and pause for a second and then, I love you and all that. So this sounds like
But this might be where the future is going, right? So Apple, what they're trying to do is predict human behavior. Like if two spouses, if their watches start reminding them to breathe, maybe the next screen will be like a Google search of marriage therapists. I mean, I don't know.
one's knocking at your door, like, oh, okay, come on in, all right.
So the last show we brought up dating apps. This is after the dating app. Now we're talking about marriage advice.
Exactly.
This is good. No, this is good.
Right.
No, I know we've covered a lot, and this has been a delight to have you today to talk about this, and it's been very smooth, and it's been great to get to know you. And this is extremely open to anything else that you just want our viewers to know about the watch, just anything you can think of at all. Like, hey, if I don't have you quite sold on it, or if I don't have you there yet, what's your tag here? What do you think?
I would say that, again, I think most people get into it for one reason, right? They think it's going to help them with this thing, but I'm confident when you understand the apps and how so for example, credit cards. So it's my credit card is set up with my bank where if I make a purchase and it's an unrecognized website, my watch pings me to ask if I want that approved, and that's real time.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, if there's one reason you want the watch, chances are there's 2 to 3 more reasons or applications you're going to be able to use it with. So if you're not sold on it yet, just go to YouTube and search, something, credit cards and Apple Watches. And I'm confident that most of what you're going to hope it does, it's capable in some capacity of doing that, for sure.
No, right. And I came in today knowing that, hey, these things will notify you when you have a phone call or maybe you want a text message, and then you can get to it. But obviously, that's just barely scratching the surface on the potential
I would
of these
say
things.
Text, the actual communication piece is what I use it the least for.
Well,
Almost, I mean, yeah, sure, I get the notification when a text comes through, but I'm talking to my watch so much more for every non-communication related reason. So it's definitely worth at least looking into. And in my experience, it's been well worth the investment for sure.
Absolutely.
So I got to ask though, what is your favorite accessory for your watch?
My favorite accessory for the watch, I don't know. I'm a minimalist in real life, so I don't have a lot. I got this neat, like it's a leather band.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty stylish. Yeah. So it comes with like the silicone, they're usually brightly colored. And I'm a professional that's in meetings a lot, so I don't feel, when I have my Denver Broncos wristband on, like that doesn't really match usually what I'm wearing. So I would say, and it's an opportunity even as a minimalist for like gift giving. So I asked my husband, like, hey, I could always use 1 or 2 more watch bands. So I would, that's probably the most efficient accessory that I use for sure.
Hey, let's go Bears. I just had to throw that in there. I was gonna. She dropped the Broncos in there like 3 times. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so since I've got this new one, I haven't even changed out the band yet. But my last watch, which was a different millimeter of watch, because they go by millimeter sizes, but I was the same way. I had like 6 or 7. Like, okay, this one here, I'm wearing this. I was just as bad with, especially with dress clothes. Depending on what dress clothes I'm wearing that day. Yeah. So I haven't got that bad recently. So yeah, but. Yeah, that's probably my favorite feature is I can definitely change out the bands if I need to. So it's kind of cool.
Yep.
So, well, Jessica, do you have anything else for us?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Apple Watches and football. That.
No.
I do want to say though, Jesse. So my 9-year-old son played in the USSSA World Series baseball tournament in Iowa, and the Bears head coach was there with his son.
Oh, that's all. What did you say? The Bears and who? Did you say Iowa?
Bears. Yeah, well, we were in Iowa for a baseball tournament, and the Bears head coach was there.
Kurt Ferenc. I'm from Iowa. I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan. So you're like speaking my language right now.
Okay.
How much more time do we have? We can start. Yeah. Okay, I got you. I knew there was something about you there that I liked when we got here. So. All right. Oh, wow.
Well,
cool.
I think that's going to do it for us. I feel like we could just keep going on and on, so I better just stop so we can just keep talking. It sounds
Wrap
like.
it up.
So,
yep.
Thank you so much for watching Behind the Internet, and we hope you enjoyed today's topic. And Jessica, it was definitely a pleasure to meet you today, talk with you today, and obviously talk to you about this awesome topic that we have. So, and we definitely look forward to connecting more again later on, but where can we kind of touch base with you at? I tell you what, we'll go.
Usually we're like, hey, the guests, they can plug stuff, but this is a kind of a cool one where someone's not really on the social media too much. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I gave up Facebook several months ago, and so I have not returned. I'm not sure that I will. So, I'm an elected official, so if a resident has a question, they can hit me up. But outside of that, I'm just a super passionate person about the Apple Watch.
or they can get a hold of us, and then we can pass on the questions to you, and then we can get back to them. Oh, very good.
That's why you're studying city finances. I love it, by the way. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Aaron, Christina, behind the scenes, pushing the button. Thank you so much, Jessica, for joining us today. My name is.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Jesse, and look forward to episodes. We try to get these in the 3rd week of each month, and I know we've got another good one on the dockets for next month too. So again, thank you everybody for watching today. If you have any questions or just want to tell a little bit about yourself or anything about the Apple Watches you want to add on, or we'll get back to you, or we'll love to hear from you. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.